This is the Scarcity Studios YouTube channel. Please don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. And our sponsors are Alpha Claims and Hire Birmingham, the leading and best accident management company. Get a replacement car anywhere in 1 hour. I really appreciate you joining me today, and this news comes from Liverpool, and it's a follow-up to a story that I did yesterday about the man from Blackburn that was killed by FBI in a synagogue in Texas. Apologies for my wording when I said that he was murdered, because he was holding people hostage. That would not be correct. He was shot dead, but he wasn't murdered. There was no criminal intent behind the shooting. As far as we're aware, they were trying to save people's lives. And I do understand that the way that you word stuff in the media is really important. In relation to the follow-up, it's down to the fact that Darren Gee has actually spoken to the Liverpool Echo about actually knowing Malik Faisal Akram, who is from the Blackburn area, and as I said, was the man that held people hostage in the synagogue on Saturday. The article says that the former gang member from Liverpool has spoken about his shock and sadness after learning that his friend was shot dead by armed police in Texas. The siege lasted for just over 10 hours and nobody but Malik was actually injured. But Darren Gee has told the Liverpool Echo that he made a friendship with Akram when he lived on the notorious Grizedale estate. Darren Gee served 18 years in prison for organising the murder of David Regan. This was during the drugs war, they said, in 2004. Darren Gee and his brother were part of a gang that actually controlled the estate, they said, and fought running wars with rival criminals and the police. Darren Gee is from Everton and he was released from prison on licence several years ago, and his brother Daniel Gee was jailed indefinitely for public protection, which is IPP, since 2010 after a secret investigation found that he was trying to buy guns and also threatened to murder a teenager. Darren Gee and his brother were actually arrested for the Jamie Bolger murder originally as well. But two other boys were actually convicted of the murder of Jamie Bolger, but then brothers were so notorious in the area at the time that they was actually suspects. And Darren Gee told the Echo in this interview that Akram spent a few months living with him in Liverpool, and he said that Malik came into my life in the late summer of 2020. So this would have been around the time that he had an MI5 investigation on him. He said that he arrived on the Grizedale estate and started knocking on doors looking for me. When I heard about this, I thought it was a criminal that was looking to confront me about my past. But when I met him, he only showed me peace and love. Gee went on to explain that Akram had read about him and was aware about his social media presence and also the interviews that he'd done. He said that I would describe Malik as an activist and said that he campaigned about the treatment of people in the prison system. He said Malik knew my family a bit and he knew that we'd been through a lot and all kinds of problems with the system. But at the same time, and I was out of prison, but I was still a MAPA prisoner, which is a multi-agency public protection arrangement. He said in this impromptu interview that Malik had been in trouble with the police before, but that he was sympathetic. He was also aware about his brother Danny being in prison for IPP. The BBC reported that MI5 investigated Akram in 2020 and they had him on a watch list as a subject of interest. Darren Gee said in the interview with Liverpool Echo that I read about the surveillance he was under and I did wonder. He started to spend time with me on the Grizedale, and I have a past and once associated with dangerous people. So I'm not exactly sure why Darren Gee believes that MI5 would be investigating him. He sort of insinuates that in the actual interview. He goes on to say that looking back, I suppose there were problems, but Malik was an absolute gentleman. He just seemed to bring the best out in people. He would bring us food and I would do the cooking, and we did everything that friends do together. Cooking, eating and going to the gym. I took Malik to a well-known mosque in the city and I would wait outside for him. He enjoyed the community. Darren said that Malik knew that he was under pressure from violent criminals in the North Liverpool area, and he said that Malik knew that there were people out to kill me and he was not intimidated. He showed real strength of character by associating with me during that time. Gee said that he never suspected his friend was an extremist, but he said that Malik was a committed Muslim and also an activist, but never spoke about extremism. I knew that he was desperately committed to helping people in Syria, and he travelled to the country in a lorry, collecting presents and parcels that could be sent out to Syria. He said that I helped him and he went over to a shop in the Blackburn area where the charity was based, and Gee said that with hindsight he sensed that his friend was suffering from mental health issues, and he said yes, there was some issues, but I think Malik had some mild form of mental illness. The Dallas siege was live streamed on Facebook until the feed was cut at around 2 p.m. Akram was heard calling for the release of Afia Siddiqui, a Pakistani neuroscientist that had ties to Al-Qaeda. Gee also recalled that he remembered he was speaking about a woman a lot and said that she was wrongly jailed by the Americans. Darren went on to say that he cannot condone what Malik done, and I'm baffled as to how he gained access to the US with a criminal record. The people he took hostage feared for their lives, and this is wrong. And I also feel that this did not have to happen, and he did not have to die. Malik was a very frustrated person who needed help, and it sounds to me like he just exploded. He went on to say that the vast majority of Muslims that he knows are all about peace and love, and a handful of them are involved in wrong things, and that gets all the media attention. Gee said his association to Akram ended at the end of 2020, and he said, I stepped back and I found him a bit intense. I liked him and I respected him, but I needed my own space and time. So I thought that was a really interesting interview that Darren did with the papers, and also maybe says a little bit more about Malik to understand who he was and how this even occurred. So I really want to hear what people have to say on this story, and I'll be back very shortly in about half an hour with another upload. Please don't forget to follow me online as well at Scarcity Studios on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook and Twitter, and I'll be back again very shortly with some more news. Peace.
It's our local Jewish synagogue. At that time, they were having services, and those services were being broadcast across Facebook and across Zoom. And we began to get information that a gunman had entered the synagogue and taken 4 individuals hostage. At that time, patrol resources responded to the area. We called out our SWAT team, our North Tarrant Regional SWAT team, who responded. We set up a perimeter and we began.